Hi everybody, today we're going to be talking about the fragrance house d'Orsay. This is a brand that's rising in popularity in Japan at the moment, but I think it's still relatively unknown in the United States. It kind of makes sense that it's popular in Japan because the scents from d'Orsay are very inoffensive, but even so, I still think they have a lot of personality. I like the sleek branding, the bottles have magnetic caps, and each perfume is presented with a mysterious vibe. It's actually a very storied house and was founded back in 1801 in France by a dandy named Alfred d'Orsay. I believe the house was much larger at one point in the 20th century, but now it sits in the shadow of bigger niche houses like Byredo and Diptyque. Each fragrance has a French name, but also initials that correspond with an undisclosed personality chosen by the perfumer. As I go through these reviews, I'll also be naming a person that I think fits each fragrance, even though the initials might not match up. The first fragrance here is GA, Dandy or Not, by perfumer Sidonie Lancesser. I've touched on this one before, but I'll reiterate. There's grapefruit, orange blossom, cardamom, soft leather, and tea in here. Despite the note breakdown, it comes off very atmospheric. It's not heavy at all. It's complex, but I think it gives off a clean vibe. I especially appreciate the way that this one develops over time. It really takes you on a journey, and each note kind of emerges in its own time. I feel like Jude Law in The Talented Mr. Ripley might smell like this. There's a polished brightness at first, but it gives way to something that's a little bit more quiet and complex. It's elegant and even a little bit playful, I would say. Up next, we have RB, Une Rose Paradis, or in English, A Rose in Paradise, by perfumer Caroline Dumure. This has aldehydes, pink pepper, rose, cashmeran, musk, and sandalwood. It's gently powdery, and the florals combine to create a lush, almost lychee-like accord. The pink pepper is the same kind of overdosed pink pepper you find in Glossier U. The rose here isn't jammy or even really that realistic, which makes it feel pretty unisex, even though the composition doesn't seem traditionally masculine. It's not cloying in the way that rose fragrance can sometimes be, but I do wish it lasted longer. It feels a little lonely, maybe like somebody beautiful who can't quite find the one. I feel like this is very Léa Seydoux. She gives off a similar vibe of both fragility and strength, accompanied by a melancholic beauty. The fragrance feels delicate and ephemeral, but there's also something haunting about it. Up next, we have EQ, Sur Tes Lèvres, or in English, On Your Lips, by perfumer Dominique Ropian. Notes here are iris, pink pepper, jasmine, cashmeran, and ambrette. This one has surprising body and longevity, with the pepper growing in prominence over the dry down. It's well blended, which makes it a bit hard to describe. It's a spicy, sweet iris scent, leaning slightly feminine. The name feels fitting. It's like remembering a night with a loved one, where the vignette is a little bit fuzzy on the edges, and it was cozy and nostalgic, like a kiss in the early stages of a relationship. I could imagine Natalie from the movie Memento wearing this. The fragrance at first feels affectionate and familiar, but there's also a haziness to it, a slight blur around the edges, like a memory. Like Natalie, it feels elusive, something you think you know, but you can't quite put a finger on. Up next, we have LB, Cœur Perdu, or in English, To a Lost Heart, by perfumer Fanny Ball. Notes here are iris, bergamot, orange blossom, neroli, cashmeran, and ambroxan. It's a waxy and soapy white floral. To me, it smells a bit like Celine Parade, minus the citrus, but also fuzzier because of the addition of the cashmeran. It's very versatile, and it was actually my first predominantly white floral full bottle purchase. I bought it as something to throw on when I'm tired of thinking about what to wear, kind of like the white t-shirt of fragrances. It reminds me of Kirsten Dunst in The Virgin Suicides. It's clean and dreamy, something that's innocent and unreachable, but it's also not an overtly optimistic scent despite the note breakdown. There's a bit of a melancholic quality here, maybe contributed by the iris. Up next we have M.A., Je suis plus grand, or in English, I am greater, by perfumer Anne-Sophie Bergel. It's composed of ISO-E Super, ambroxan, musk, and iris. As you can probably guess, it's a molecular synthetic dominant scent with strong projection. I've smelled most fragrances in this style, and I'd say it's probably closest to I Don't Know What from DS and Durga, but less sharp and potent. The iris keeps it from approaching the impersonable feeling these molecular scents can sometimes have, It acts in the same way that the musk does in Another 13, giving it a bit more personality and warmth. It makes me think of Tilda Swinton on a train because it's both cerebral and emotional. Next is J'ai l'air de ce que je suis, or in English, I Look Like What I Am, by perfumer Karine Chevalier. Dominant notes in here are iris, lilac, musk, and citruses. It smells classic and soft, but not old in any way. Longevity is very poor here, but the initial burst is so vibrant and cheerful. This was the first vial that I finished from the sample set. I can see Betty Elms from Mulholland Drive wearing this. The fragrance feels bright and wide-eyed, like Betty's arrival in Hollywood, but it also disappears and is fleeting in the same way. Next, we have VH, Dire Oui, or in English, To Say Yes to You, by perfumer Vincent Record. Notes here are leather, cypriol, saffron, incense, benzoin, woods, and pepper. This is probably the most masculine and powerful scent from D'Orsay. If you like Amber Kiso from Dias and Durga but find it too strong, this would be a good alternative with a similar profile. It's dusty and striking, with the oiliness of the cypriol giving way to a smoky incense and soft leather. Even through the heavy notes, the florals I would say still peek through. The imagery here is strong. I picture an apprentice in a lamp-lit leatherworking shop. Their hands are still slightly oily from the burnishing process. Vincent Cassel in Lahaine would probably smell like this. It's raw and powerful, but it's also like a man who's pretending to be tough, but really sensitive or scared underneath. Coming up on the last two, we have MD, Nous, Sommes, Amants, or in English, We Are Lovers, by perfumer Bertrand Duchaufour. Notes here are Palo Santo, sandalwood, juniper, and a green note. I got eucalyptus, but bamboo is listed on the D'Orsay website. It's a spicy and realistic wood with a greenness I find I don't usually get in dry sandalwood scents. I would say it's not as strong or divisive as Santal 33, probably closer to Tamdal Eau de Toilette. It smells like putting your nose over a pile of unlit Palo Santo sticks. To me, this feels more like a location than a person, maybe like a setting from Isle of Dogs. It smells like a dry and breezy landscape. Last here is CG, Vouloir, Être, Ailleurs, or in English, To Want to Be Elsewhere. This is a reinterpretation of a legacy fragrance called Tilleul, or Linden in English, composed by D'Orsay in 1915 and remade by Olivia Jacobetti in 1995. This is the only one I don't really love from the house. There are yellow florals here, of course, hay, and a similar waxiness from LB. It just smells a bit old-fashioned to me, like something I would see my grandmother wearing. It's hard to wear with that image in my head. To someone without this association, the yellow florals and hay work in conjunction to create something like a gentle breeze on a sunny day in a field. I would probably sneeze a lot in this location. I feel like there would be lots of pollen. Here, I see the woman in the piano teacher wearing this. Maybe she inherited it from her mother. To me, it feels a little bit restrained and maybe suffocating. So that's it for the House of D'Orsay. Even though their focus on Iris overlaps with Celine, D'Orsay feels distinct because it's tied to personalities rather than places. The collection as a whole is soft-spoken but really distinctive, and I think it deserves just as much attention as Diptyque or Byredo. If you're into clean, not quite skin scents, I would say this is a great house to explore. So let me know, if you had to match one of these fragrances to a personality, who would it be? Comment your thoughts and tell me which one you'd most like to try. I might even be able to share a few samples because I have some remaining. Thank you for watching.